Today I'm going to show you how to make butternut squash into baby food. First I'm going to take this little sticker off. And then you will want to cut your butternut squash in half. Your oven needs to be preheated to 350, so if it's easier you might want to go ahead and start it now because my oven takes forever to preheat. After you've cut up your butternut squash, you'll want to take all the seeds out, all this uckiness out. And I usually just use a spoon. After you've gotten all of the seeds out, you want to go ahead and put it on your cookie sheet with the skin side down, and you'll want to put just a little bit of water into the hole so it doesn't dry out. As you can see, I've already put them on the cookie sheet and put the water in the hole. After you do this, you just have to put it in the oven for 30 minutes. Squash to cook, something you can do with the leftover squash, the stuff you had scraped out of the little hole, you can always remove the seeds from it and you can roast that as well. What I do is I usually just put it in a little brownie pan and I put a little sea salt on it and then pop it in the oven for the last 10 minutes of the squash cooking. It looks a little bit like this. But I thought while we were waiting, maybe we could have some words from our sponsor, Baby Riley. Do you have anything you want to say to our viewers, Riley? Riley, this is your moment. Anything? How about without this? Oh, you still have a messy face. Do you have anything to say? No? Nothing? Now that the squash is done cooking, I went ahead and emptied the water out. I've let them cool a little bit, and now it flipped over, skin side up. And there's a couple ways you can do this. You can either scoop out the meat and put it in a food processor or blender or anything like that to mash it up really good. Or the way I like doing it is cutting it up and then cutting the skin off and then putting it in my food processor. Okay, I went ahead and chopped it into little slices like this, and then I'm going to take a smaller knife and just cut along the side and get all the skin off because babies can't eat that part. If you want to see how I take the skin off, I just take it and slice it off the sides. Whoop, a mountain of squash just fell on me. Now that you have all the skin off, you can just take your knife and cut these into smaller chunks. Something to keep in mind is when you're cutting them to know what size is you just have to kind of know your food processor, your blender. You don't want to overload it because there's always a chance that it'll leave chunks and you don't want your baby to choke on those chunks. So just go ahead and chop away. While the camera wasn't rolling, more the word I meant, Riley got upset. So I was going to wrap her. As soon as I get the wrap on, she's fine. But she's behind me and a little bouncer. So just go ahead and chop all this stuff up. Food processor, blender, doesn't matter which one you use. My chunks I put in my food processor and I've already let it process a little bit. Gonna let it process some more. And after that, you'll want to go ahead probably and add some water to it because right now it's just really, really small chunks. Okay, I've added my water. I haven't started it yet, but I did want to note that the water that I use is just a big bottle that I get from like Walmart or something. I also use it for my daughter's bottles. So after you add the water, you can just put it in there and you can see that it's already getting creamier, which is what you want. You want a creamy consistency. I have my baby food to the consistency that I want, which is kind of on the thicker side, but a lot of the baby foods like carrots and squash and sweet potatoes and stuff like that are going to be kind of on the thicker side, and that's okay. So now I'm going to put them in my ice cube tray holder, which has a nice lid, and then I will put it in the freezer to freeze. So I just take a little measuring cup like this and just kind of slide it into the spots. See how it's kind of thick? That's okay. If you want it though, you can always just add more water. There are some baby foods that you make that are going to stay on the thin side that you'll want to add oatmeal or rice or something else to them. So after you fill these up, you can just stick it in the freezer.